Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. We are here talking a topic that a lot of Louisiana residents are familiar with, especially if you're our neighbors. You're kind of familiar with it as well, with the storms and the hurricanes. You're going to end up with some repair work, typically to a roof. So today we have John from Stalwart Roofing, and we're going to hear about his journey from building his company up and taking a pivot due to a natural disaster. Before we get to that, however, I want to give a big, wonderful shout-out and thank you to the amazing folks that bring you this show each and every week. Falaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Horizon Financial Group, and Gage. Without further ado, John, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, taking your time out of your busy day, and sharing your story of who the heck you are and what it is that you do, man.
Yeah, great.
So for those that aren't available or aren't aware, who are you and what do you do?
I am John Gilliland, and I own Stalwart Roofing here in Baton Rouge, and we're a commercial roofing contractor. We do have a residential division. We do quite a bit of that actually, but we are making a strong push towards commercial.
Why commercial over residential?
Because it's my background. It's what I know. I know how to navigate those things very well. I've done that for 25 years, commercial construction.
Got it.
So, I just know how to do it. So we do have a residential division to serve the community, and I've brought in some experts to help navigate that.
So how did you get started in this?
In the roofing?
Just in your contract, because Stalwart was a general contractor before roofing.
It
right?
was. So it's always been a dream. Just own my own company. Had no idea how to do it. Right. They don't teach it in public school.
Yeah.
How to own a business. So it's just been a dream, and I worked myself up through a few different companies, not many, but a few, and learned the business of. I learned the application of construction, and so then I formed a company in 2019, just in my bedroom in a corner. I formed the company, and I got all the licenses I need, and I started doing those things kind of on the side, and then I finally, when Hurricane Laura hit Lake Charles, I took the leap, and I just quit my job, working for a really great company here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Love the people over there, and I told them I had to go. So I went to Lake Charles, and we started some general contracting, started doing some things, and then I got into the roofing. I had some family that are roofers, and I learned the business. I knew the application, I just didn't know the business.
So you say you always wanted to do something entrepreneurial. Was there like a entrepreneurial force or outside factor in your life, family, friends, what have you?
No one in my family owned a business.
So what about entrepreneurship just was in your head of something you wanted to do?
That's very hard to explain. I've tried to explain it before. I don't know if I can. Maybe divine intervention.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a draw. And maybe it's because I don't like people telling me what to do. To be honest.
Well, and that is a big answer from entrepreneurs is, I don't really feel like answering to somebody.
Yeah.
But you're still answering to somebody.
You
got
always,
your customers.
You are answering to someone. The difference is I can control the path to get there.
Yes.
Right. Some of the issues that I had working with some of these other companies and some pretty well-named general contractors in the city I've worked for as a superintendent and things like that. But I just had my own way of doing things. I just saw things differently, and it'd be a rub every once in a while, right? But I never left a company on bad terms, so that's a plus. And the person I was working for at the time, when I finally took the leap, was very understanding. He and I are great friends. He's a mentor of mine now, and he understood. He really understood that there was a draw there that I had to go chase.
So when you were getting your education and everything, was it always this path of I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day, or did that happen later in life?
No, it was, early on, that was not the case. I was just trying to, eat, right? But then as time went on, it was every move I made professionally after that. Once I created a career, every move I made after that was very intentional to go to be an entrepreneur down that path. The only regret I have is not doing it sooner.
Yeah.
talking to people that I've meet now that have the idea of being an entrepreneur, that's the one thing that I can tell them is don't wait to learn everything. Just start the business.
Yeah. Well, it's that perfection roadblock that you're going to hit.
It is. And I feel like I've wasted some years with that. And then once I became an entrepreneur and, you know, the business is running and things like that, there's so much that I had no idea that I didn't know. So all those years were wasted on something that it just didn't matter, right?
Well, you were perfecting or working on the craft itself, right?
Correct.
Learning the trade. I mean, because being a general contractor, being a roofer is a true trade.
It is.
And so having to perfect that is the hard part, right? Getting that, I need to be able to sell and at least be able to do it my own self.
Right.
Before I can start this company that does everything else.
And that was the mindset. But, you know, if you look at some of the business owners of some pretty big companies, they don't know how to do the application. They just understand how to run the business. So that's what I mean whenever I tell some of these people, just start the business. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fail forward. You know?
Fail forward, fail fast, right?
Fail fast.
The 4 Fs.
Yes, that's right.
So when you're in these companies and you're learning the trade, were you ever inquisitive about the other side of it? Like,
absolutely.
How does this work from the business end?
And that's what I mean when I say that every move I made was very intentional towards that. One company I worked for, they were never going to let me out of the field. It's just because I was very good at what I did, and it made sense for them to keep me there. So I had to leave. I had to create an opportunity for myself, and I found someone that allowed me to get into the office. And so then I started learning the office side of things. And then that knowledge base ran out. So then I found another company that would teach me a little bit more about the insides and how things worked and contracts and discussions that were had that I was never privy to.
So you were on the path of out in the field first and then working your way back into the office, which is not necessarily a typical path for people in the trade industry. They learn the trade and they go, I'm going to start doing this by myself. And then they got to figure everything else out on their own.
Right. The only thing that I wasn't able to get in and find was someone to teach me some of those business intricacies that only a CEO would know. Right. Or someone at a very high level. So that's the only thing that I'm having to figure out myself. Right. Or one of the most horrible things that you have to do as a business owner is write SOPs. It's excruciating, but I never knew that was part of it. And so, but luckily there's this thing called ChatGPT that really works fantastic.
So I'm not gonna lie. I used an AI tool today to create a job posting for me.
Yeah.
And like I typed in some parameters and it was like LinkedIn was like pushing it. They're like, do you want to use AI to write this job description for you? And I was like, sure. Use it. And like it typed it, like formatted. I was like, this is, I never would have typed this out. Right. So we're going to go ahead and post that. That works great. We're going to roll with this.
Well, that's a rule that I have with myself, though. I never post exactly what comes out of there because it's got to be real, right?
Right.
But it's a very good tool to use for starting. If you have kind of a creative block like I do, I just need to start. And once it's started, I can carry it on.
Which is a tool you didn't have back in 19.
That's correct.
I mean, now this is only something that's been, 2 or 3 years?
That's right.
Access to the public in a way that people can really apply it in business.
Mm-hmm. And it's a tool just like anything else. It's any other software. Yeah. And we use it quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay. So how do y'all deploy?
Well, when it comes to the business, when it comes to SOPs or just random things. I used it today randomly on my phone because we were trying to make sure that our CRM was calculating profit margins and overhead correctly. And so we were somewhat confused. Sometimes when you get too many people throwing out ideas, everybody gets confused.
Too many cooks in the kitchen?
Yes. So I used it real fast and it spit out a couple of answers and was like, all right, so this person's right. I was actually wrong.
Okay.
That person was right. We confirmed it. Now, if you want to trust AI, but I had no reason to disbelieve it, and it worked out.
So at what point did you realize you were going to have to start deploying some type of AI within that back-end processing?
Whenever it was just me in the business.
Okay.
Let me say that. I had some other people in the business, but when I really took it serious and the people that I were partnered with early on, when we separated, and I was just sitting alone. That's right about the time where ChatGPT kind of came out and everything, and it was just too much work for me to do by myself, and so I just randomly picked it up, and then it didn't take very long that I realized, okay, we have to use it.
Yeah,
we have to use it.
It's now become a tool that's
Absolutely.
used every way.
Absolutely.
Imagine taxiing on a plane looking toward the end of the runway. It seems so far away, it's even hard to see it. And that's what the concept of retirement probably felt like when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, way far in the distance, not visible or even a concern. But as you turn 50, something happens. Retirement suddenly seems like something real, something not too far away. In your 50s, you are rolling down the runway. Retirement is getting closer and closer, faster and faster, weeks and months zipping by. But are you even ready for a successful takeoff to retirement? Fear not, there's still runway left. But the time is now. Time to make progress and time to get a plan. The Runway Decade will help you get organized, get energized, and give you the direction you need to take off to your desired retirement. The Runway Decade, building a pre-retirement flight plan in your 50s.
All right, so you said that there were some people you started the business with who were partners in the beginning. So walk us through when you decided to take that leap, building that business in the corner of your room.
Yeah, so I started building in the corner of my room and started doing all those things by myself, and I was part-time because I had a full-time job, right? And then Laura, that happened, and I partnered with another roofer out of Florida, and we went over there and we started working, and I worked closely with them. I actually started with them as a sales rep, selling roofs. Never did door-to-door, so that was a little strange. So I went through that it didn't take very long. And then because I was a license holder and because I had interest in the business, it didn't take very long that I was now in the office. We were running a location, me and another guy. And I learned a lot from him. He taught me a lot about, well, we'll just call it what it is, and that's storm chasing. There's a whole business model around storm chasing.
Okay.
Right? And so I learned that way. I learned the insurance process through that. And that's one thing that I have to say I appreciate about roofers is that they understand money, they understand how it flows, and they understand marketing better than any other construction industry out there. And I've been in this my entire life. I've never had another job. I've been in construction since I was 15 years old. So when I say that they're better than everybody else, I mean it. Like they do it better.
So what makes them able to do it better, or why do you say that they do it better?
Competition.
Okay.
I think there's more competition in the roofing industry than in any other industry, arguably, I guess. And so the marketing, they're very in tune with AI. They're very in tune with all the latest softwares and technology in general, and marketing techniques, and they're all over it. Any industry, any state, the roofers are probably the ones that are advertising the best.
So on the storm chaser model, that's how you kind of learn the roofing business.
Well, that's how I learned the insurance process. Not really the roofing business, but I learned the insurance process because that is the business.
Yeah.
Right? You're signing people up with their insurance proceeds kind of thing. And I learned what to do and I learned what not to do, which, that makes me a good owner because I learned from other people's mistakes. And but, there's a lot of money in the insurance restoration. But the one thing that I found that learned, I don't know if it's what not to do, but I learned that there's some unfairness on both sides when it comes to the roofers and to the insurance companies. They're both for profit and they're both trying to get every penny.
Okay.
Right. And so me coming in from the commercial construction industry, I just saw things from a different perspective. And so what I've done now is I've taken portions of that model and I've applied it to my business, but my roofing company runs just like a general contracting company.
Okay.
Because I understand how it works and I know why we do certain things, and that's really helped us with the public bid market. Because when we're bidding with general contractors, our processes are similar. So they're reading the same thing. The communication's the same, and anytime something is has some familiarity, right? It's just easier to deal with, right?
Yeah. So the public bid process, what exactly is that? You talking about public buildings or?
So we've stepped away from the general contracting being the prime bidder on those things, and we're just the subcontractor on those. And so we're bidding with some of the prominent GCs around. We're bidding their projects for them, the roofing aspect of their projects.
Okay. So how do the bids get so off kilter when it comes to that process? Because I've seen and heard that some people come in super low and cheap, and some people come in extremely high. I feel like the pricing of goods is it not relatively stable across that industry? Or
it is. I mean, of that.
What leads into all that fluctuation in the bidding process?
There's a lot of factors. Most of it's human factors, right? There is a price difference. So we're relatively small in the grand scheme of things. So our pricing is set at a price. Well, you get some of these bigger companies that they're putting on 100,000 squares a year or something. They're getting better pricing, right? So you have that to contend with. Most of the time, it's just what is a company's bottom line on their margin? What do they want to do? What is their labor price? Because that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing fluctuating right now is labor.
Okay.
So material, obviously through COVID and the hurricanes, material was crazy. Nobody could find anything. But it's somewhat leveled out. We are getting increases, though, by the way. Last year, we got an increase every quarter.
On just
it was
the pure raw goods?
It was horrible, yeah. On asphalt products, it was just horrible. Which that's a soapbox I could get onto. It's not a economic thing as far as national society. It's more that particular thing last year was really the manufacturers, in my opinion.
So do you think that the rising cost from the manufacturer side was due for them trying to pay out some better labor, or was it just them trying to see where's the new threshold?
That's
that people
what they were trying to do. They're trying to see where's a stopping point, right?
Yeah,
because it's capitalism, right? And so they're just they're paying it, so let's just keep bumping it up every quarter. And some of it's significant. 3 to 7% is a lot.
It especially,
and I'm trying to sell that to you, and it's hard, right?
Well, so I want to go back to your door-to-door sales days and talk about that, because that's great segue from trying to sell to the homeowner. What was that like going door to door?
It was painful at first. It was very painful. And in a hurricane, look, it's order taking. So you're not really selling a whole lot because they need what you have, right? You're not convincing them that there's damage on the roof because they don't have one. So it's pretty easy.
It's a fair point.
Right. So that's somewhat easy. So it's not like, I'm not trying to do a hailstorm or something like that. But I did learn a lot, and there's techniques and things that aren't unethical or shady. The techniques are really just basic human interaction. So I never got into, I will say the company that I was with, they never trained to sell something that you didn't believe in. Right. So don't sell them something they didn't need. Right. I'll give them that. And so that's basically what we do now. And so we have a sales team, and I go knock some doors if I need to. I try to stay away from that because I'm trying to get bigger stuff. But it's a humbling experience, especially Laura. I'll tell you, Laura was hard. I went through Ida, and it was destructive and hard and all those things. But Laura was probably, it was a very humbling experience because I was going door to door and I'm meeting these people, and you sit down with a lady. She's been living in this house for 40 years and she's crying at her kitchen table, and you're trying to sell her a roof. It's very humbling. And as you know, Lake Charles, I really feel for those people because they're blue collar people. Yeah. Right. Most of that town and that parish, Calcasieu Parish, they're just blue collar people, and it was hard to see. It was very hard to see. Yeah, I mean, you're going there for people that have potentially lost lives, lost possessions, lost everything. But at the same time, you still have a product that they need. It's not a matter of could help like they would want. It's they need that product. That's correct. And so, what is that, to whatever you can get into, process like with the insurance to help them out on alleviating that cost? That's a slippery slope sometimes because the insurance companies have done a very good job with lobbyists and things like that. to limit what the contractor can do or even say. They
in your sales
in
pitch,
our sales,
or like your so like you
yes.
can't educate them on certain topics.
We can educate them on certain topics, but there's certain things we can't say. We can't talk to them about their policy.
Okay.
Because we're not a PA, right? We're not an attorney. And if they find out you did, the whole thing's gone, and they don't get any money. Like it's, or worse, that's we get jail time or lawsuit or whatever, because it's against the law.
Seriously?
Very serious, yes. So there's certain things that we can and cannot say. So, like one of the things I would always say if I come to your house and okay, look, here's what the process looks like, and here's the things you need to look into your policy for. But I can't help you look at your policy.
Got it.
I've had people hand me their policy and say, I don't know I can't look at that.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing I can look at is a scope of work written by the insurance company. I can read that because I'm the expert and they're not.
Okay.
Right. Which I find a little contradictory because they can come in and tell the homeowner what their construction scope needs to be and how much they're going to pay for it. But we can't tell them what the policy is. It's real weird.
So they can come in and say, hey, you need a new roof.
Or not.
Or like, you need a new roof. Or, you know what, just throw some tarps up there, call it a day.
That happens. That more often than you would think, there's clear evidence that they need a roof, and we're not going to pay for it.
So how do you, as a roofing company, handle that transaction? Do you have to walk away?
No.
What do you do?
So what we do is we have two different methods that we have. We won't get into all the details of that, but we have two different methods. And one, we just supply the homeowner with all the details that they need, a great inspection report, a good estimate, and reasonings why, and all these and storm data and just all the stuff. Pretty much anything the insurance company could possibly need, we supply it. And we let the homeowner deal with the insurance company.
Okay.
Or we can go in and if the client hires us to do it, we can work directly with the insurance company. The only issue with that part is there's no obligation between the insurance company and us as a contractor for us to work together. So at any point during that transaction, the insurance company can decide, well, we don't want to talk to this contractor anymore. We're done talking to you. And there's nothing anybody can do about it because their contract is with the homeowner. So, same as ours.
Yeah, y'all are going through the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can at any point in time in the process say, we're not going to talk with you anymore. And then, by the way, the homeowner can't share what we're going to talk about.
Well, they could. They can't. Now, they can't stop the homeowner from saying anything.
Okay.
Right? The homeowner really has all the power, which is one of the biggest things that we try to teach inside Stalwart is to our sales reps is give the homeowner all the power. Make sure they understand that the insurance companies are not a government entity. They are simply a for-profit business. And so because we saw this a lot in Lake Charles. These insurance companies would come in and say, well, we're not doing this and we're not doing that. We're only going to pay this much. The homeowner would just accept it because that's what they were told.
Right. That's what they were told. Yeah.
Right. But people believe that these insurance companies have some kind of authority that they can dictate that stuff. And no, you can fight that. Absolutely, you can fight that.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
So how do you even go about fighting it? I mean, is it just a simple email of hey, here's what my policy states? I mean, because at that point,
yes.
do you I feel like you're trying to get a roof and you're trying to do it inexpensively as possible from a homeowner standpoint, right? You just went through a natural disaster. You don't want to be cutting big checks, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're fairly made whole by your insurance provider.
Yes. Well, there's a couple of things. So, one, I would say, as from a homeowner's perspective, just be educated on your insurance policy. So many of us, we have to have insurance because we bought a house, whatever, find the insurance, and then we sign a piece of paper and we pay a monthly note. We have no idea what it covers.
Yeah.
When's the last time you read your insurance policy? Put you on the spot.
Actually, the whole policy?
Well, whatever you need.
Or the big blanket terms.
Yes.
Actually, I did just do that recently, probably last year, because my premium went through the roof.
Yes.
And I was like, why? Hold on.
What's going on?
Hold
right?
on.
Yeah.
I was like, the CPA and me sparked up. And I was like, hang on a second. We've been paying the same rate for the last 3 or 4 years. What happened? And they're like, well, rates went up. I'm like, all right, send me your sheet, your quote.
Yeah.
And then let me send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And see what they'll quote me at. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're just charging me too much. Yeah. So we're gonna thank you, but we're going somewhere else for the same blanket coverage within my term sheet. Yeah. Now, nobody reads the whole booklet.
Nobody reads that, and really, and I'm not saying you have to read the whole thing, but you need to be educated in what they're going to cover if things go wrong.
Right.
And it's a big deal. And then your deductible, and here's a big one: code upgrades. People don't know if they have code upgrades or not. So what we're seeing in a lot of the older parts of the city, we get an insurance claim, and the decking is the wrong size. Well, we can't install on top of that. It's got to meet code. But the policy didn't have code upgrades, so now the homeowner has to pay for it.
That is an interesting point, because I live in quite an old home in Mid-City Baton Rouge.
So do I. How about that?
And, half the wiring in the house one would look at and maybe not want to go back with the same wiring. And so, I didn't realize that there had to be like a specific line item for code upgrades, because the same thing with the roofs. And like, there's a lot of houses that were built back in the 30s and 40s with asbestos siding.
Right.
And asbestos siding.
Sure.
And it's like, what are you going to do when you have to replace that?
I'm fighting one right now.
The process to go through that is significant from my understanding.
Yes.
And especially when you have asbestos shingles, because that was also another common product.
Well, I will say
used back in the day.
Exterior asbestos is not as bad as interior asbestos. It's a different product. And so it's a lot easier to get rid of that than it is interior. If it's interior, it's a lot of work.
You have to like dome the house, right?
Yeah. Well, for what?
Like interior asbestos.
Well, you have to negative air, the house and seal it off, and then have someone go in and professionally remove it.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you can't just hire people to go remove that. Exterior, you can, as long as there's certain parameters you have to do. Mainly, the bigger parameters are around just the disposal of it. We usually wet the roof with a water hose, and then we have our guys covered in Tyvek suit, and that's all we're required to do.
That's
well, with a respirator. Face mask.
That's a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. We double bag everything in garbage bags, and then we just we have to make special provisions for the dump.
Okay. Yeah, that's simple enough.
Yeah, but you have to make sure those things are in there. And there's so many people, all they see is, what is my monthly note? They're not looking at what's covered. And I understand. I've worked for $500 a week before. Like, I get it. But it's important. It's very important.
Well, and it's also, you have these younger individuals that are going and buying their first house, learning they have to have homeowners insurance for the very first time, and they look at their initial note and, okay, this is my note, this is what I can afford. And it's like, okay, now here's your interest and principal breakdown. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, now here's your mortgage insurance if you don't have enough down. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing. And here's your amount that's going to property taxes and then your homeowner's insurance policy. It's like, okay. So all of a sudden these numbers just get longer and longer. And then if you're at a house closing, you're signing, 500-600 pages of documents?
Yeah, it takes a while.
I mean, it's a long time just to sign.
Yeah,
you feel like you just gave away, 3 generations of your family right there.
That's right.
But part of that process is getting that insurance. And so what are you seeing that insurance companies are doing better now, or are they worse now from when you first started?
I don't know if they're worse. It's a catch-22 in my eyes. I'm going to throw some of my constituents under the bus as far as the industry goes. I think storm restoration companies don't do themselves any favors.
Okay.
I like to equate it to jackals. No, not jackal. What was it? Lions and hyenas.
Lions and hyenas.
So you have the insurance companies are these lions, right? And these hyenas are the roofers, and they're just constantly this eternal battle. And the roofers will figure out how to get around some policy that the insurance company put together, and then the insurance company catches on to it, so then they do something else, and it's a lot of backbiting kind of thing. I'm sorry, I forgot your original question.
Insurance companies today, are they better than they were when you
Okay,
first started?
yeah. So I don't know. I haven't been in the game long enough. Well, not say long enough. The insurance restoration really blew up, I'd say probably about 20 years ago. So that was kind of before I got into it. So I don't know how they were then, but from the last 3 or 4 years, it's gotten a little worse, especially Florida. We're seeing there's about a big push with legislation from the insurance companies in Florida, and whatever happens in Florida shows up. Florida's kind of the testing ground for policy, and because obviously there's a lot of money and storms and all that kind of stuff over there. So what we see there starts migrating its way this way, and as far as what they're doing well is the insurance companies have this IBHS, which is a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And it's a building code standard testing company. And they have worked with the IBHS has worked with the Louisiana State Insurance Department, LDI, right? And there's now a fortified grant program. And that fortified grant, I think it's $30 million, I believe is what it is.
Okay.
And that fortified grant program allows homeowners to apply for the grant, and then they get their roof upgraded to a specific building standard from IBHS, which is the fortified building standard.
Okay,
right?
so
It's
they have
great.
if they have like a much older roof.
It doesn't have
That's
to be
not in
old.
code?
It doesn't have to be old or in code, but
Okay.
they have specific codes that you have to build it by. So if we show up to a client and okay, they need a new roof, they're getting a new roof, whatever. They're actually incentivized. They can go through the grant. They don't have to go through the grant program to get fortified roof. You can just decide you want to do it. But there is a grant program that's out there that they can apply for, and if they get accepted, part of that $30 million, I think it's up to $10,000, will go towards the fortified portion of your roof. And that's all pushed by the insurance company. Some of it's self-preservation. It's all about bottom line. But what I like about it is it's a building code standard, which is the soapbox that I was telling you about earlier. I get really squirrely on that one. But the fortified standard is basically the Miami-Dade code.
Okay.
Okay, it's a great building code.
So for those lay people that aren't in the roofing world, what are some highlight bullet points from that?
Okay,
code?
so we re-nail the entire deck. Your
Okay.
deck has to be a certain thickness or it doesn't qualify. Then we have to either redeck it.
And you're talking about the roof itself,
the plywood roof,
on the. Okay,
yes.
that's what you call on the deck.
Yes,
not
the
the back
plywood.
porch deck.
Correct. Yes,
I'm thinking, all right, so you're putting shingles on a back porch deck. Okay,
no,
got it.
So the sheathing on
Yeah.
the roof, we have to make sure it meets a certain thickness. We have to we re-nail it to specific nailing patterns with a specific nail. I mean, they get very detailed.
Specific nail.
Specific nail, 2 3/8 galvanized ring shake. Like it's a specific nail,
Okay.
right?
So the nailing manufacturer's got a.
Oh yeah, they love it, right? Everybody's loving it. Passload's doing great. No affiliation, by the way. So that's one of the things we do. We have to seal the deck, and that's one of the biggest things. Is there's two options there. You can seal it with seam tape, so all the seams of the plywood have to be sealed off, or we can cover the whole thing with what we call ice and water shield. It's a really great product. We cover the whole roof. And then specific ways we install the drip edge and just all those different things. All the flashings have to be new on it for you to get the designation. And the good thing about that is not only are we there and we're required to take a lot of pictures. It's a lot of inspection process throughout that. There's actually an IBHS certified inspector on site as well, making sure that it's done correctly
While y'all are doing the
while
roof.
we were doing the work.
So you've got somebody standing on the ground. The sole purpose is to literally watch you work.
Yes, exactly right.
Interesting.
Yes, and they're making sure everything is done per spec. And then once that's done, you get a certificate that says, hey, your roof is qualified, and you have to renew it every 5 years. But the great thing about that is,
How do you renew it?
they just send someone out, they check it. Did anything change? No. Okay, you're still good.
Got it.
Welcome to the brand new Falia mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falia mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falia in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falia, it's real estate reimagined.
So every 5 years you can renew that, which is a great selling point if you ever want to sell your house, right? You have a fortified roof. In Alabama, they did this test before they rolled it out here, and it worked. Every shingle can blow off your house, and you're not getting wet for the most part. It's going to drastically minimize the damage inside the house, which for an insurance company, it's not the roofs that cost them so much money. It's the interior damage. That's where all the money is that they have to dish out, right? So with that, what also happens with the homeowner is it's mandated by the state that the insurance companies give them an insurance cut.
Okay.
So it could be anywhere from 10% to 50%. We don't have enough data yet from the homeowners to tell us what that is yet. It's just starting to roll out. The grant program has been rolled out for a few months now. A lot of stuff. There's a lot of roofs are getting have these grants in New Orleans. There's a few starting to happen here. So it's really great. And the biggest thing that I really appreciate about this whole program, this grant, is that it's forcing inspections on roofs, which is something that we in Louisiana lack.
Okay. Like just general inspections?
Yes,
it's a real
problem.
When the house goes for sale.
The application inspections.
Okay.
There's no permit needed. I think don't quote me on this, but I think it's 3 parishes in the state that require a permit for a re-roof.
To re-roof, you don't need a
You don't need a permit.
Okay.
You don't need a license to be a roofer in this state, which is a problem. You need a registration. You can get a home improvement registration, and you can be a roofer up to a certain dollar amount.
And so where does the licensure come into play? Who controls the licensing body, I guess? Because, again, what value is the license but the folks that try to enforce it?
So we have the license. We want to be legit.
Yeah.
We have general contracting license, a residential contracting license, and a roofing contracting license. To answer your question specifically, I mean, the licensing board for one, but the licensing board, they're limited, right?
Right.
Because it's all legislation and just talking to the right people and getting some things changed is the real hard part.
So what's the process to get licensed?
So let's see, what is it? It's been a while. So you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank. They have to make sure you're a legitimate business. You're not just doing some things on a whim. And then there's some testing involved. You have to take all your specific testing.
Okay.
Now for the residential, I didn't have to take it because I had the commercial.
Yeah.
So they just gave it to me. Basically.
One bled into the other. Yeah.
That's right. So that I just paid my fee and went on about my business. You have to take a financial test.
Okay.
Things like that. So you do have to do that. It's not real difficult, but they want you to at least understand the basics of.
Yeah, I mean,
math.
so there's still some testing parameters
There is testing
in there. It's not
parameters,
just
yes.
fill out a piece of paperwork, show us you've got some money in the bank, and we'll give you a license.
No, there is actual testing involved. But that's where it stops, and that's the problem. So you right now could walk out of here and start a roofing company and have a registration, there is no testing for that. You just sign up for it, you pay your fee, and you can do work up to $75,000 on a residential house.
And what's the average residential house roof cost?
$30,000.
So you could essentially make an entire career without ever being
Absolutely.
licensed.
Absolutely. That's the problem. And the other problem is there's no one checking your work.
Yeah, I was about to say,
The
who comes
plumbers,
back and
the
checks
electricians, the framers. Framers don't need a special license, but they have to get a framing inspection, and they're held to standards. Why isn't the roof?
I've seen some bad TikToks of some framers.
It's really bad. There's some really good TikToks. I don't know about TikTok, but there's some really good Instagram inspectors in Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah,
that it's really great to watch what they see.
I love the inspection videos. Yeah. I'm sorry, not to cut you off.
That's
so
all right.
yes, so
yes.
all of them have to get these inspections.
Yes,
and then the roofing industry is just
it's Wild West. So we call it two chucks in a truck.
To me. 2 chucks in a truck.
Yeah, you can just go start a roofing company, and people hire them, and I get it because they're way cheaper. They're a lot cheaper than we are, than some of us legit companies that we have insurances, we have licensing and work comp and all the stuff, right? So our prices, we can't compete with that. But he can go put a roof on, and there's not an inspector telling him, well, that's not right. You can't do it like that, right? Just done.
So there's no finished product testing.
Well, it's not even the finished product that's the problem. It's everything underneath the finished product is the problem.
So is part of this grant trying to curb that problem, where it's like you have somebody on site making sure that underneath the roof is done?
I'm going to say this is my personal opinion. I have no facts at all with this.
Right. It's personal opinion. His own opinion of Stalwart.
I think it is the insurance company's way of beating Louisiana politics.
Okay.
And they're, let's do this $30 million grant. $30 million for insurance companies, nothing, right? So here, let's do this thing. And then once the fortified program and that building standard starts to happen, then it's going to be a whole lot easier to get the code changed, in my mind. It's all the long game.
So then it'll force
it. The insurance companies want it to be regulated.
Yeah. That's their investment.
That's correct.
They want to protect their investment in the house. Oh, 100%. So I guess that would be kind of part of their. So this is what, few months old?
Yeah.
Okay.
6 maybe.
6. Okay. So not quite a half a year or so, and it could be that very much so them trying to push the type of response that the standards, the codes, and updating all that, and making sure that there is somebody doing the inspections after the fact. Because I've always seen and heard on like roofing commercials, y'all make it a big deal about being licensed, bonded, and insured.
Right.
It's always like, I didn't realize that was so much of a selling point
until
you sit down with somebody and say, oh yeah, I've had all these roofers come through and they weren't licensed and I didn't end up going.
Or they say they are licensed and they give you the number. But if you look the number up, it's just the registration. It doesn't mean anything. It just says that they can do construction. So like people assume that it's a license.
So what's the difference between that and the license?
A registration is it's basically for a handyman, right? You can go in and do any kind of work on a residential home, up to $75,000. Okay. And that's needed. I'm not saying it's not needed.
Right.
But when you come to specific trades, you should be regulated. That should not apply. It doesn't apply to a plumber. It doesn't apply to an electrician or HVAC contractor. They have to have specific licensing, and roofing should be the same.
And they have to. So my family owns an industrial plumbing company, but they've done the residential, commercial, and all that stuff. The amount of regulations that are within their industry is insane.
Yes.
So much so that like you have to have your license number displayed on every form of public eye material.
Yep.
And it's nuts how much they have to go through. All the CPE they have to do every year to continually keep up that licensure, the inspections they have to have on the new construction and everything. It is a whole different ball game.
It is.
Than the folks that are standing on top of a roof, the last line of defense in the times of storm or anything of that nature.
That's right. It's frustrating for sure, because I get beat a lot. There's a lot of times I get beat out. I got beat today. I called a lady following up, and I had a guy come in at this price, and I ran the numbers real fast. And I'm like, well, that's my cost. I don't know how he's doing it. Well, I know how he's doing it. He's an owner operator. He's actually putting the roof on, which is fine, right? I want him to make his money, but is he licensed? I doubt it, because there's no money for insurance in that quote. There's no money for work comp. There's no money for a lot of things.
So is part of the process for not being licensed in the beginning to get to that level of cash in the bank that the registration
you need $10,000.
Okay.
They're making that on one roof.
Okay. So we're not talking you need a serious amount of money.
No, it's $10,000.
Okay.
Yeah. That's easy.
So going to the owner-operator side of things, how long were you working as an owner-operator before you started hiring crews?
Not long. I realized,
you started out in Laura. It couldn't have been long.
No. We had crews almost from day one when it comes to the roofing side. I did not. I've done it some as a younger man, and no, I'm not trying to do that. Plus, a lot of these crews, it's what they do, and they're so fast. And during a hurricane, I've been through 2 of them so far, and things need to happen really fast because these people are distraught. That's really one of the biggest portions of the job is managing those chaotic emotions from your client because it's devastating, right? They've lost everything. Their whole family's lost everything. I dealt with one family in Thibodaux. They're really great. We all became really good friends, but I dealt with 3 of them, 3 different houses, the son, the daughter, and the dad. And it was chaotic for a time because it was just all the emotions, right? And just, and I'm trying to manage everything and make sure they're talking to each other. So it became kind of a mess, but we got the roof on and everything's fine. But it's a very frustrating thing. And I feel like if we could get regulated, you could have some really good roofing companies in town. Now, some people will say it's because it's competition and I'm trying to weed out the competition. And I'm not going to lie to you. There's about 10% of that's true, right? The less competition, the better it is for everybody else. But I enjoy competition. So I really want to give the homeowners what they need because there's a large portion of my business that is repairs. We do a lot of repairs. And most of the repairs that we do is not from a random tree limb. It's from insufficient work.
Really?
Yeah.
So you'll go and do, and so how does that repair process work? If you're like, are you doing door to door to get that type of job, or is
sometimes door to door? A lot of the repairs come in because we have a leak, come fix our leak. Okay, so then we have to go source the leak and we find it. And look, every roof, I don't care how good a roofer you are, even us, we have roofs that will leak from time to time. It's just construction and things happen. Typically,
the house, especially if it's a pier and beam house, it'll just settle.
It'll move. Things happen, right? But there's a large number of repairs that we do, and we as soon as we walk on the roof, we're like, okay, this is not right. We're on a commercial building right now, off of Jefferson. That I think we've been on that building 4 times because a professional roofer went over there, and it's really bad. It's really, really bad. But again, there's no inspection. There's no one following behind them because once the guys leave the roof, nobody's getting up there, right? And it doesn't matter. Maybe a commercial job, they'll get up there and inspect it because the architects have to make sure it's right. But outside of that, nobody's getting up there.
This episode is proudly presented by Gage. Gage is a local company here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For over 40 years, Gage has provided businesses with the very best telecommunications, IT, and standby power services available. Gage has a variety of services, including Gage Cloud Voice. It is the last phone system your business will ever need. You need to give your business the ability to be accessible anytime, anywhere, and with Gage's cloud-based phone system, you'll be able to accomplish just that. Not only do they have Gage Cloud Voice, they have fully managed IT services that are proactive network monitoring, 24/7, 365, help desk, business continuity. They are there for you. What you're also going to need is some cybersecurity. Gage is there to safeguard your business from potential cyber threats, even when you aren't aware they exist. Gage also is power and leaders in standby generators. They are the #1 Cummins dealer on the Gulf Coast and provide generators to homes and businesses of any size so you can keep life going. Gage, better connected, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show. So what's the worst project you showed up on and had to fix?
This was a home in Houma. And no, I'm sorry. No, Lafayette, we'll use this one. There was a home in Lafayette that we had done, or that we had went in to look at. They said, "Oh, our shingles are sliding off the roof." I'm like, "What? Shingles aren't sliding off the roof. They got one that maybe come loose or something." And so we get there, and a roofing company had went in during, I think Ida maybe,
Okay.
And a roofing company went in and threw this roof up real fast, and they have what they call mod bit on a flat part of the roof, because you can't put shingles on anything under. I think code is 4. Anything under a 4 pitch, you have to put mod bit down. Roll roofing. And we show up and we throw a ladder up there and we walk up, and the whole thing has literally slid down the roof because they didn't install it correctly. So there's only one fix, and you're tearing it all off and starting over. And unfortunately, the homeowner had to pay for it because, he couldn't get in touch with the roofer. That's the problem with some of these unlicensed roofers. And some people equate it to the storm chasers, right? And is that true? Possibly. Some of these bigger national companies that come in during a hurricane, they contract through local roofers to get their warranty stuff done. So you're usually okay. But some of these smaller guys, it's not the storm chasers. It's the local guy that didn't need to get a license. He just got to make some quick cash and throw a roof on, and now he won't answer his phone.
Or he's changed his number.
Or whatever the case, right? He's gone.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it cost them a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, to redo your whole roof from the ground zero is not cheap to do.
It's not cheap, no.
So in those, I mean, how often do you find that when you're doing a repair, it is because of a misinstallation?
I'd say probably 30% of the repairs that we do.
30?
Of not our total business, but 30% of our repairs,
That's significant.
It's very significant.
So it's like 1 in 3 repairs that you do is because of the previous person's mistakes.
Also, even when we're doing a whole re-roof, we sell a job, what happens, whatever, right? And we get up there, we start tearing the roof off. This is, I don't even know what the percentage would be on this, but it's very high that they never removed part of the old roof to begin with either. There's times when we get on roofs and there's 8 layers of felt because they never tore them off.
Okay, so walk us through the roofing process.
Okay.
Because I mean, I've seen it, I've done it a few times, but for those maybe not familiar with it,
Sure.
what is typically supposed to happen when a customer gets knock on the door from a roofer after whatever they got to get a new roof?
Sure.
What can they expect? What should they expect?
One, they should expect a very detailed inspection report.
Okay.
If you don't get a PDF of an inspection report outlining everything that's wrong with that roof, I would start kind of questioning the roofer, right? Because a lot of times they just, this is what it's going to cost, right? But to me, the way what we've implemented is you're to provide every homeowner with an inspection report. They need to know what's up there because they're not getting up there. Plus, you need it for the insurance company anyway. And then a detailed report estimate, obviously. That's what they should expect. That's what they're going to expect from us. And I know they get that from some other good roofers in town. And so then you walk through that process, and then we explain the insurance process if that is the case. If not, then we skip that part. So moving forward, we sign the deal. Everything's worked out, right? When we show up to go to work, the process is we tear everything off to the plywood deck.
Okay.
I want to expose the entire plywood deck, because if I don't do that and I leave the felt, then I don't know, or you don't know that your roof's sound. I'm nailing shingles on top of something that I can't see. I don't know if it's holding the shingles or not. So we pull it all off, and there's a lot of leaks. Every house has leaks that you may not even know about, right? Especially some of the older homes. Well, actually, I take that back. The older homes, like 80 years old, they don't have a lot of damage on the roofs because of the way they were built. They can breathe, But these newer homes especially, there's always some rot around a vent or something because the water can't get out. So that's why we do that. And then we come back and we either put the fortified standard down, or the other standard is we ice and water shield in the valleys, and we put synthetic felt over the whole roof, and then we install the shingles, right? It's really a simple process, but there's many roofs that we tear the shingles off, and there's either layer shingles underneath it that they never tore off. That happens. They just nail shingles right over top of it. Or there's 7-8 layers of felt, because they don't want to, if you're not there watching them, guys are going to cheat, right? And they just felt over the old felt and install the shingles. It's not right.
So I mean that means that roof has been re-roofed 7 or 8 times.
Absolutely.
And every guy after that,
absolutely,
they've just put more.
Yeah, because these people, they use the little local roofer that they have, which is great. I'm not trying to throw any of those guys under the bus,
Right.
But just do it right if you're going to do it, right? But I do think that regulation would halt a lot of that.
It'd at least get people thinking about it, right?
That's correct.
You know, because now you're not chancing, like you're not trying to play the chance game of will the roof last long enough for the homeowner to forget about me.
That's right.
Rather, it is I have an inspector coming out here next week or tomorrow or today that's going to look at this thing. I got to make sure it passes inspection.
That's exactly right.
You know, and because social media has exposed quite a lot of constructors and contractors about how they have built homes, and the inspectors, I've seen so many people just go in looking at what should be a load-bearing wall, and they're just moving a 2x4, you know, or you see homes that are fully built just fall down because of improper work. And
That's right.
it is one of those areas of business that is like you have to know what you're doing. You can't fudge the numbers and make it work.
No, that's true. Or at least you have to find someone that does.
Yeah.
Right. Now I have to take up for my brothers and sisters in the construction industry. Right. I tell homeowners all the time, look, we really pride ourselves in being a really great contractor, but we make mistakes. And how you can tell a good contractor is he coming to fix it?
Yeah.
If he comes back and fixes a mistake, he's a good contractor. But if he's blaming everybody and he won't answer his phone, well, you got a lemon, you know, and it happens. It's just like anything else.
So, man, what do you do in that case? What can you do?
As far as the homeowner is concerned? It's tough. What I would say is Google reviews they work. So if you hire a contractor that has a Google profile, a negative Google review it has a lot of weight.
It takes a lot to get
and I'm saying that, and I really probably shouldn't be saying that. Please leave me some great reviews. I think I have one negative review, and it wasn't anything to do with the work. It was we didn't answer the phone or something. Sorry to that guy. I really am. So, but those things are really impactful. And then if they are licensed and it's a very serious, and please don't do this if it's frivolous.
Right.
But if it's a serious accusation or serious problem that they're not fixing, the license board is the place to go.
Yeah. If they accidentally,
you file a claim with the licensing board.
Snapped off an azalea twig, don't call the licensing
board.
No.
But if it's something serious and you've paid this man a lot of money, this company a lot of money, then licensing board, they take it very serious.
And so what are the ramifications? To what end do they have the ability to take action?
They can fine us. They can remove our license. There's a lot of things they can do. And they can actually work with the homeowner for legal ramifications.
Okay. So the homeowner can get some type of,
absolutely,
made wholeness about them. Okay.
Yes. It's not an easy process, but they can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that goes back to your point of make sure if it is something serious that you see it all the way through.
Correct. That's correct. I frown upon this. I'll turn it away sometimes. Every once in a while, we'll get some homeowners that will call us. And I had a contractor come out, either a general contractor or I had a roofing company come out and they installed my roof. We want you to come inspect it. Well, it's $250 first for us to even show up to do that because there's no gain for us, right? And then I always present it to the homeowners. I'm not going to come here and throw this roofer under the bus,
right?
Unless he just did something wild, because I understand construction, and sometimes you could be the best contractor in the world, and you have one guy that just didn't feel like doing his job that day, and he did something dumb.
Yeah, that's not construction specific.
No,
that's every industry.
That's correct.
You can have one bad lemon on the team cause an issue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also important to hold everyone accountable for the work that's been done.
Absolutely. So I very rarely write a letter saying, hey, this roof is just not installed correctly. I don't want to get involved in that. Right.
Yeah.
But I also want the client to be taken care of. So if it's something small, usually we'll just fix it and move on.
Okay.
Right. If it's, like I said, if it's small, but like if it's significant, like your roof is sliding off, well, okay.
That's a little more serious than, okay, one shingle came unnailed.
Right.
You know?
That's right. That's right. Now, the general contracting side of that, it could get kind of hairy.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why we're pushing real hard to transition out of residential general contracting. Nothing against our homeowners. We love them. But it's also very difficult.
Yeah.
HGTV has really not done us any favors.
Well, no, because they think everything can be done for half the cost. And
7 days and half the cost.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
want you to take
reality.
these barn doors that I've had out here for 40 years and make me a table and do it for, $200 kind of thing.
Right, and make sure it's perfectly level.
That's correct.
And it's never going to warp on.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And they do it on TV,
Of course. I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
It's
There's
got
a
to be
TikTok about it, right?
Yeah,
Or a
jeez.
podcast.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So as we start to wind down the show, we do have a set list of questions we like to ask every guest.
All right.
So one of them being, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
I wish I had the time to squirrel hunt. A lot.
I don't think we've had anybody say squirrel hunt yet.
Yeah. It's
Which
a
is
dime
incredible.
thing, man.
It is, and it's a fun activity.
Very fun.
I used to squirrel hunt with my grandfather in a Vols parish, and it was always a great time.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It
but
is.
It is very, you have good eyes to squirrel
You have
hunt.
to have good eyes. You
And
have to
good
have a lot
ears.
of patience.
Yes.
Good ears. And it's a dying art because everything's getting bought up for these deer hunters and they don't want you squirrel hunting on their property, right?
Yeah.
So, because you're messing the deer up,
Right.
which you never mess the deer up. I've done it a lot and you've never messed it up. But I just don't have time right now because we're trying to get the business to get to a certain point and it just takes a lot of time. So, yeah, that's the one thing.
I like it. I like it. You've been in business a long time, both as an employee and now as an employer. What are 3 lessons you've learned along the way?
Start now is a big one.
It's a good one.
I'd say there is truth to fake it till you make it. Just start doing it. I know it kind of goes back into the first one, but there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do that I just said, okay, we're going to do it and then figure it out. Right?
Yeah. You figure it out as you go.
Yeah. Face your fear more, I guess, would be, you know, because there's always fear around doing something you don't know how to do and just got to do it.
Yeah. I love that, man.
And then the third lesson is trust everyone for who they are. You know, I try to live by that. I trust everyone. And then if they show that they can't be trusted in an area, well, I trust them to be that person. So it's okay.
Yeah. You didn't just know at that point.
No animosity.
You know what they are.
I know what they are.
So what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
This is an interesting question because I've just moved to Baton Rouge about 4 years ago.
Okay.
Moved to Mid-City.
All right.
And I absolutely love it. I've never lived in a city. I've always lived off in the rural areas. So I moved to Capitol Heights, and it's like Mayberry. It's people waving, and you get to know everybody and walking their dogs and everything. I really love that. There's some really great parts of this city. I think there's a lot to this city that is somewhat hidden back in some of those neighborhoods and places like that. And then I don't know if this is everywhere, but with my daughters being in University Lab School, the connections here, this city is small but big, if that makes sense.
It's a little big town.
It's a little big town, and connections go a long way, and there's some really great connections here. And schools like that and Catholic and things like that, I've really come to appreciate those connections just from being around certain people and then with my daughters and everything. So I really love that aspect of the city.
Yeah, especially being like the mid-city area, you get really ingrained really quickly because everybody's active in that area.
Very active. It's a little eclectic, is that the right word for Mid-City?
I don't know. The AI did an image generation of different areas in Baton Rouge, and the image they had for Mid-City was pretty on point.
Okay, there you go. There you go. But no, there's some really great things. I love Mid-City. We're within walking distance of everything. White Light Night has been great.
Oh yeah.
We're a block off government, so it's so great.
Yeah. They've some great activities in Mid-City, and it's like that whole strip of Government Street, and everybody around it is there for a good time.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So for the final question, what can I do to help you?
What can you do to help me? I would say help me educate people in your life about insurance process somewhat. You just to be diligent and not just blanket, right? And then help us contractors, which would be helping me, to not have such a bad name. You know, we're not evil. We're here to help. We really are. There's some really great contractors out here. So yeah, just helping us spread the word. That's really what you could do to help me.
Yeah, that's easy enough, man.
Yeah, all right.
That's what we're in these chairs for
There
today.
you go.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, John, for coming on the show, man, sharing your story and starting to bridge that gap and let people know you're not the big bad wolf trying to blow the house down.
That's right. There's some really great contractors in this city.
Oh yeah.
You know, really great ones. I've worked for some, and I'm friends with some others, and they're really great.
Yeah, there is a good group of people amongst some of the bad out there that are really trying to change the image in total.
That's right.
So thank you again for everything you do.
You, man.
Thank you for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
All right.
So, and thank you everybody else for watching or listening to the show. I'm very appreciative. I know the guests are as well. We're going to link everything about John's company into the show notes if you want to check them out. If you want to learn a little bit more from him about what it is they do, maybe you need a new roof or you got some services that he can provide, make sure to reach out to him and let him know that the Patty G Show sent you. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you all so much.